Well, it is about that time, Clifford, so feel free to hit the record button. And Clifford, if you want to start sharing, I'll start warming up over here with our first item here. I'm Dan Zeli, President-elect for PMI Calumet Chapter. I want to welcome everybody to getting on a little early today, and I really enjoyed the chat. And as Clifford said, hey, there's some really great positive comments and enthusiasm and happiness and all kinds of great words of expression to feel how we're coming together. And it's great to see at our annual membership meeting, which means one time a year, the PMI asks all the chapters have an official business meeting. So to check our box on our bylaws, we are having the official membership meeting. So my first order of business is I want to recognize quite a few people over here who endured this year. Some of are on, some are not on yet. And hopefully I hope we can help them with this PDU. Those are new PMPs and CAPMs. So folks like Deontay Mahome, Lisa Hisson, PMP, Bo Tauber, PMP, Eli Schott, PMP, Devander Singh, PMP, Ryan McGill, PMP, and last but not least, this is where you smile, Leslie A. Curry, PMP.
Hey.
So anyways,
bravo.
So it is quite the challenge, and as we heard from Leslie about her adventure, especially taking the new at-home proctored exam and all the extra stuff you got to learn on and worry about or not worry about in our cases about taking the exam, and she got it in while she's still under version 6, so that was amazing. I know that PMBOK 7 is going to present a couple extra challenges for a few people, but I have it on very good authority that the actual test will not be that much different until probably like Q2 or Q3. It'll take them that long to go ahead and add the extra questions and all that. But anyways, it is about 6 p.m. at this time. Mr. Secretary, I turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thanks, Dan, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the PMI Calumet annual business meeting. Before I go through the agenda, I know we have what I'm sure is going to prove to be a very enjoyable, fun, and highly engaging presentation. Again, I'm probably putting too much pressure on them, don't mean to, but so what we're going to do is we're going to have a roll call of the board members. We're going to discuss the chapter highlights, go through the bylaws, nominees, and things of that nature. So with that said, we'll do a roll call for the board members. I am here. Joe?
Here.
Dan is here, VP Technology.
Kelly?
This is Kelly. I'm here.
Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, it just showed unstable. I was a little worried. So, and we have Dan.
Yes.
So everybody is here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Joe Mays for the chapter highlights for this year.
Yeah, so just an exciting year this year, especially obviously with everything going on. But this year we supercharged our social media and web presence. So huge accomplishments there. Thanks to the team in this area, especially led by Dan and Jay and Jonte, who's not on tonight. It's just so much incredible work there. We had several web events that offered PDU membership opportunities this year as well. In spite of everything going on, we're able to get that accomplished. We made a sizable donation to the Northwest Indiana Food Bank just last month. So it's relatively new. And taking on updating our bylaws this year, plus chapter leadership elections. Another big piece that's necessary every year to get accomplished. Anything else that I'm missing, guys?
I don't think so.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll pass it back to Dan then.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. One of the other orders of business is our chapter bylaws. Our chapter bylaws have not been updated since 2016. And with the resilience and the growth in our volunteering this year, in part due to COVID, and people actually just getting more into professionalism and helping out the chapter, we've had to increase our bylaws, and the increase was in the officers. So, as you probably saw, starting around November 27th, PMI distributed our bylaws for review and asked us to vote. Mr. Secretary, I'm happy to report PMI has approved our bylaws, and the ratification is complete per PMI. Mr. Secretary, I move that the bylaws be accepted. I put a motion on the board. I'm going to need a second.
I second.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, I believe our bylaws are passed, and Mr. Secretary, I ask you to go ahead and archive and incorporate.
Accepted and incorporating.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up, another order of business is our elections. Again, with our new bylaws being accepted, I want to introduce our members for the board of PMI Calumet Chapter Board for 2021 and 2022 term. Myself, Dan Zeli for president. Jason Romero, our VP of Finance. Jason's on travel today. Mr. John Tay Robinson is going to move up from our Director of Social Media and take on the bigger seat for technology. Ms. Sonia Struber. Hi, Sonia. Welcome as our VP of Education Outreach. Jay Thomas is our VP of Administration, also Chapter Secretary. Jonathan Harris, who we met in the virtual networking, he's going to take on our VP of Membership role. And then we have Karen Teeter, who's going to be our VP of Professional Development. Kelly Miloslavich, who's going to be our VP for Community Outreach. And Letitia Muse, VP of Volunteers. And our dear friend Joe, who's taken this chapter from basically the ashes, kept us going the last couple of years, built up a real strong board, and paved the way for some strong volunteering and nothing but optimism going forward as be our past president. So at this time, I'm going to ask to share the screen. And if everyone would humor me, if you have a browser or if you have your cell phone, will you please do me the honor of picking up your cell phone or go to pollev.com, please, /DanZeli339. And this is going to be the official vote that is being recorded. So we'll go ahead and pollev.com /DanZeli339. And then when that page comes up, you could vote A for approve, B to oppose, or C to abstain. You could also do that by picking up your cell phone and texting.
Put that in the chat, please. Can you put that little link in the chat?
I'll take care of that, Dan.
I can't do that right now with all my screens open. Sorry, I'm a little handicapped.
And is there any cap sensitivity to surely not the first part before the slash, but Dan Zeli 339 is all lowercase, I would assume.
It probably is. It'll probably work. Or if you pick up your cell phone and go 22333 as the number that you'd want to text to, and then it'll ask you for putting in A, B, or C. So we're going to hold the vote open here.
CIL.
Okay, with 7 results in so far.
Still working on mine. I'm going to Danzilla.
I know. Holding the official vote open. Sorry, this isn't as good as The Voice, when you have,
Danzilla.
you're waiting for the winner, but
339.
okay, we'll hold it open one
Hey.
more minute.
A is to approve.
A is to approve. B is to oppose. Or C, to abstain.
Oh, my keyword was wrong.
So this is the first. I've never done this type of voting before, so this is pretty interesting. This tool was made possible by last quarter's virtual tools presentation by Nabila Safdar, and taught us how to use Poll EV in our Zoom meetings. Okay, is there anyone still out there voting?
I'm trying it. It kicked mine back. It said my word was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It says you've joined Zilla's session. Okay, now I get to type in my answer.
There we go.
Sending.
There we go. I got 14 results. Okay, I think we're there.
Awesome.
All right. Drum roll, please. And here's the responses. The answer is approve. Mr. Secretary, I motion that the results be approved and incorporated into the term starting 2021 through 2022, the board as presented. Mr. Secretary?
Second that. 100% yes. Got it.
Got it. Okay. That said, let's move on to our featured presentation of this evening. So, my dear friend, Clifford Clarke, Professor Clarke, I've known him for a number of years. He's a very, very smart man. He's very open. He knows project management. He teaches project management. He's very passionate about the profession, whether it's IT or if it's meeting with people inside and outside of the PMI neighborhood. I really admire what he's done with students, and you'll hear about that as I formally introduce him. Clifford Clarke is the president of C2 IT Advisors, LLC, which is a strategic information technology and advisory firm providing consulting services in the areas of strategic planning, project management, and policy development. Starting his firm was a dream Clifford brought to fruition after a 25-year in good old corporate America in the IT department over at Lincoln National Corp. He's also been in the city of Fort Wayne. He's been at Ivy Tech Community College as well. Now, Professor Clarke teaches project management at the collegiate level and continues to lead multi-million-dollar projects and serves as an active member of the PMI Northeast Indiana chapter as their outreach director. Mr. Clarke currently serves as the board president of the Fort Wayne Black Chamber of Commerce and on the Legislative Advocacy Committee of Greater Fort Wayne Incorporated, which is the Fort Wayne local Chamber of Commerce out there in Northeast Indiana. Clifford's a corporate and community servant leader. He's also a senior public and private sector leader, and his experiences include financial management, governance, organizational development, strategic planning and execution, personnel management, and project management, and then some. So, as an information technology professional with a concentration in information security, he assists numerous organizations in navigating the rapid changes and pivots in technology. Clifford Clarke is currently pursuing his PhD in global leadership with a focus on matters of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, Clifford Clarke.
Thank you, Dan. My goodness, you had told me that you were gonna embellish a little bit, and so I'm humbled. Thank you so very much. Hey, congratulations to all of the new board members. I am hoping that you are ready for what will be your typical conversation around an area of project management, and that is, in fact, communication. I know that the real reason that you're here is not because of me. It's not because, maybe not even because of Dan, but it's because you need that 1.5 PDU to carry you over the year to make sure that you have your 20 for this year that we can get started with off on a good foot. So I hope you're ready. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present to you. I'm looking forward to it. And as I mentioned in the chat box, I am excited. And feel free to use the chat box as we go along. I'd love to see the things that you guys have to say. So tonight, and Dan is going to do this, we can do it towards, I guess, the end or see how that works out. But we have a giveaway, and the giveaway is a book. The book is by a local author. I've known this person for a long time, Ms. Elizabeth McDonald. And the book is Sharpen Your Verbal Edge, 101 Tips to Enhance Your Professional Communication Skills. And so we'll be giving that book away towards the end there. Or Dan, I don't know if you want to do it now. That's fine too. Totally up to you.
Let's get it rolling. I'm loading up our wheel.
Okay, so we'll continue on. So I hope you're ready for a discussion on effective communication for the project manager.
All right. Let's play hardball.
Let's play hardball. My goodness, communication is hard, and it seems to have gotten harder these days. I'm sure we can attest to it. But before we start talking about how hard it is, let's at least understand exactly what it is. And there's several different definitions of communications, and these are pretty common. An exchange of information between individuals through a common system of symbols and signs and behaviors, or maybe the act or the process of transmitting information, such as ideas, attitudes, emotions, or objective behavior. That's a part of communications also. So that spoken and unspoken. Communications as a whole, again, another conversation, this one from a very strong source, the National Communication Association. Communication is the discipline that studies all forms, modes, medium, and consequences of communication through humanistic, social science, and aesthetic inquiry. So that's another example. Or how about this one? Communication is transmitting a message, spoken or unspoken, intentional or unintentional, using a variety of mediums. So that is a little bit about what communication is. Now, we kind of talked about some of the things that communication is. It has various different levels that we want to go through. And so we have the interpersonal communication. That's that conversation that you may have in your head. That you're talking to yourself. Maybe it's aspirational. I can do this. I can do this. I'm a winner. Or it could be interpersonal, maybe between you and someone else, generally very close to you, interpersonal, not necessarily a lover per se, but it could be someone like a colleague or something like that. Then there is group, and oftentimes we kind of think of this as small group per se, your work team or a project team of something of that nature. And then you try to take it towards the public. And that might be in print media or your web page or something of that nature. And so a lot of times, in public speaking, let me talk about public speaking first before going to mass. But a lot of times when you're doing public, you might have a very, very large audience, say maybe at a conference or something of that nature. And many times when you're doing public speaking, and up until this point, there's some level of commonality. Maybe they came to see you talk or something of that nature. Of course, then there is the final version is mass communication, and this is where you kind of lose that interpersonal touch. So basically what happens is you put the information out there, whether it's in print media or web or anything else of that nature, and you may not have any connection whatsoever with the person that might actually catch that communication. Now this model, I'm sure you've seen it, and I'm sure Leslie's seen it because it's definitely in PMBOK. So we know that we have, and I know the images are all a little weird. Maybe you're seeing the vases, but there's actually two faces pointing to each other. And you have the sender on the left-hand side. The person is communicating, and they have to encode their message. They have to transmit it through some mechanism, and they have to manage all the noise. And then the person is a receiver on one end. They get that message, and they decode it. And then they kind of send it back through another channel, or maybe the same channel, as feedback. So that is the loop that we are so used to seeing. So I'm often asked, when did communication get so difficult? Well, I always like to say it started from the very beginning. Now, I always like to throw this in there, and I always put the disclaimer on top of it. If you're a person that believes in biblical information, it started right out there in the Garden of Eden, right? Everything was good. Adam was doing really good, no problems. And sure enough, here comes Eve. I only had one rule. God sent down one rule, said, hey, look, don't eat from this tree. Not a hard communication to figure out. Guess what? They couldn't do it. They had to break that rule. They didn't get the message. They ate from the tree, and now we have COVID. There you have it. It started to get hard when we had to communicate with each other. Now, mind you, for some of us, it actually is hard when our intercommunication is going on, because there's a lot of conversation and conflict there. But it really started to get hard when we had to communicate with others, especially when our organization started to grow as they got larger and larger, and as our projects became more and more complex. And as we offered so many more channels in which to communicate. That's when it really started to get hard. And I just don't see it turning back, unfortunately. And communication is important. We need to make sure and have communication, because leaders are trying to communicate important messages like, say, mission and vision, status and performance, and important instructions to the people. Leaders, project leaders, corporate leaders, and so on and so forth are trying to get these messages out. So communication is very important. But there is something more. There is effective communication. And does it really differ from communications? Well, of course it does. Effective communication saves time, saves money, and it gets the results that you want. I always joke about my kids. When they were younger, you would ask them to do something, and you'd ask them over and over and over again. And you feel you're communicating with them, but you're not getting the results that you want. You have to realize that maybe you have a little opportunity for effective communications. All right, so we're going to take a look. So what are the attributes of effective communications? We are going to give you another opportunity for a little audience participation. When you think of effective communications, what do you think of? Let's see some responses in the chat box. I like Kelly's comment. We're always working that way. I'm sure you were referring to the kids. Positive body language, very good. I'm sure. I knew it. You're thinking about effective communications, understanding, very good. Received and confirmed. Like that. Asking questions. Now, I know there's more of you out there. Let's throw something in that chat box. There we go. I like to see it pop now. Good back and forth. Good feedback. Absolutely. Points you want to get across. Very good. Applause, cheering. Here, I like that. getting the desired results. Very good. Very good. Very good. Objective understanding. Absolutely. All right. So now that we've got some definitions or some attributes of effective communications, let's see what the professionals say. They say effective communications, effective leadership communications requires the ability to anticipate the potential interruption in the transmission of the message, appreciate the context, understand the audience, select the right medium, craft a message that allows the meaning to reach the specific receiver as intended. That's pretty deep. That's effective communications for the leader. There's a lot of things that challenges that effective communication, and we're going to take a look at a few of them. Here's a longer list, but we're going to take the top 3 or so at this point in time: acronyms, jargon, buzzwords, lingo, and of course cliches.
Former VP Richard Nixon will arrive here this week. Drywitz, I've assigned you to cover the PC.
He likes to say PC instead of press conference.
And if you do happen to speak with him, please be polite and to the point at all times.
Affirmative, sir.
Affirmative, sir. Good. Okay. The former VP will be here on Friday. I expect every minute of the VP's PC to be taped and broadcast within 12 hours of his arrival. Something funny, Garlic, but perhaps you'd like to share it with the rest of us.
No, sir. The former vice president is a delight, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Seeing as how the VP is such a VIP, shouldn't we keep the PC on the QT? Because if it leaks to the VC, you can end up in MIA, and then we'd all be put on KP.
There you have it. A little Good Morning Vietnam. So I think Leslie might be a little bit too young for that one, but I'm sure that there's a few of us around the table that might know it. I know Dan does. So we're going to do another little interaction here. See if I have it. Oh, this is one for a little bit of jargon here. You might have seen something like this in your company.
Hi, guys. What's going on?
Buzzword bingo.
Buzzword bingo?
These innovation meetings are killing us.
Hi, jargon.
The buzzwords.
Every time you hear one, you mark your card.
In short, we are 100% committed to facilitating a culture of out-of-the-box, goal-oriented, value-added, disruptive Web 3.0.
Bingo.
All right, so we got to watch out for that buzzword bingo going on in your organization. Take a moment in the chat box, another little audience participation. Now, you heard the Good Morning Vietnam. When you think of PC, what do you think of? PC, just write it in the chat box. Very good. A lot of personal computers. You can tell this is a tech group here. Press conference, there you go. That was the one that was in the clip. All right. I love that. President's Council, very good. Political correctness, absolutely. So it's clear that these acronyms and these buzzwords can have various different meanings and things of that nature. A police commissioner, I like that one. Polycarbide, okay. There you go. Joe was working in manufacturing, if I remember correctly, from that chat in the beginning before we all got started. Is that right, Joe? All right. So, yeah, you have all of these these different terms. And one of the challenges of communications is when professionals who are in a certain vertical, like, say, project management, uses a whole bunch of terms, particularly to their sponsor or their stakeholders or folks who are not project managers. And that can get kind of messy. So we want to watch out.
So how are we going to position ourselves?
Let's hit the ground running.
Let's hammer this out.
Let's get our ducks in a row here, guys.
All right, here's the 30,000 foot view.
Let's drill that down.
I'll beef it up.
Can you put a deck together?
Look, I'll do most of the heavy lifting.
Okay, I'll put my feelers out.
Can you send me the dial-in? What's the dial-in?
Hey, Lauren, what's the dial-in?
I just pinged her.
Somebody ping Carl.
Loop me in on that.
Loop me in on that, will you?
Can you guys loop me in on that?
So what space are you guys in?
Is this B2B?
We're B2C.
Is it C to C?
We're B to C to B.
We're B to C to B, but back to C, sort of. sometimes A.
We're a brick and mortar.
We're soup to nuts.
Okay, let's ideate.
So what's their value proposition?
What platform are you using?
Who did their UI?
They're UX.
CSS.
IP.
ICUP.
She's C-level.
She's an acqui-hire.
A serial entrepreneur.
A disruptor.
A total disruptor.
That dude is a coding ninja.
There you have it. I love the one that you got to get that IP and ICUP. When I visited Google many years ago, and not Google, it was Microsoft, and they had a technology evangelist, and this was decades ago, so I can say this now. And his common catchphrase is, "I want IP on everything." And sure enough, today we definitely have IP on everything. We have the Internet of Things, and there's IP all around us. But when it's time to actually talk to our customers, our stakeholders, our sponsors, or just the public, sometimes we have to watch the words in which we use. Not that they're bad, but it can have a negative effect when you use words that maybe the layperson doesn't understand. It can come off condescending. All right. So, let's look at some of the areas that we have some of that channel clutter that makes it very, very hard for us to communicate. So we're going to do another audience participation piece. I already did the PC, so I'll skip that. But let's talk about the channels. So list, or you can put, in the chat box, if you just put one in the chat box, all of the different ways in which you communicate. First, all of the communication channels that you use. You can list them one at a time, hit enter, and you'll see how many we get. Text, all right. Phone, very good. Wow, very good. Messenger, good job. Face-to-face, can't forget that. Real mail, I love it. Uh-oh, Joe's Joe's telepathic there. I love that. WhatsApp, there you go. Very good. WebEx, of course. Zoom, we're right there. Skype, very good. Absolutely. Facebook, love it. Teams, Microsoft Teams, LinkedIn, Zoom, very good. Wow, that's a lot. Duo, I love it. Grunt, okay. Thomas, you're a little tough there. Okay. All right, so there are a lot of different ways to communicate and a lot of different channels. And so we mentioned a few. Text. I mean, text has gotten really, really hard. It's not only you need a scorecard like this to kind of keep a track of all the different things, all the different ways to say different things in shorthand. And there are stories, and they are real, of applications and things of that nature typed in text form, right? And when I say applications, like job applications, where the individual that talk about generational issues have not learned how to structure a real sentence, but they talk only in text, and then they kind of talk like that. I always like number 10, what you doing today, mate? Is a little, maybe some for the folks down under there. So there you go. And of course, it doesn't stop at text. Now we have images in which we have to kind of deal with. So we have all the different emojis, right? And so there's a whole slew of emojis that are out there. And oh, by the way, let me remind you that this is not ice cream. That, if you put that one on there, that is not ice cream. So let's talk a little bit about some of the different forms of communications, like say our conference calls.
Trip Crosby
has joined the meeting.
Beth
has joined the meeting.
Hello?
Tyler?
No, this is Beth from ICS.
Oh, hey, Beth. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Yeah. Just making it,
Tyler
has joined the meeting.
All right, well, this is Trip. Who's here?
Tyler's here.
Beth's here.
Okay, the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the...
Yeah, I'll be able to do it in like 30 minutes. John
has joined the meeting.
Hi, John.
Hi.
I was just
trying to go over the purpose of today's meeting, which is to discuss the deliver.
Tyler?
Has joined the meeting.
Sorry, guys, I got cut off. Is Paul here? Send him an invite.
Put in your access code.
No, that's your PIN number.
It should be a 9-digit number.
Try pressing the pound key.
Paul.
Has joined the meeting.
Any questions before we move on?
Yes, this is Beth. What's our best plan of attack for the second quarter?
Question
What
actually.
we should do.
Oh,
Go ahead. Oh, well, I think what we should do
It
is
actually
really
depends on
diversify.
how you look at it, 'cause
and
the
really come.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I think
Given
what we-
sales,
what we
we're at
really- I think
let me just say that.
Okay.
That was a great graph, John. Tyler?
Well, my main concern with the projections from last year was that they're just insufficient. I mean, they're not even taking into account.
Did we lose Tyler again?
Hello?
John, are you guys taking distributions? John?
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. Let me start over.
So I've prepared a presentation. I'm sharing it with all of you. You should be able to see it on your screen right now.
Got it.
I don't see a link anywhere.
It says I need to download a plugin.
We are all using Macs, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
How can you? Of course.
Financials are looking great. Paul, do you have any comments on staffing?
I was thinking about that because we get a few more contractor types in. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Rex, get down. I don't know. I feel like when I looked at the numbers last quarter, that you couldn't really tell a huge difference. So if we were to really tighten that up, then
To me, staffing is a huge impact. Is that me? Is that me?
That's not me, I don't think.
I just want to go over a couple of details as we move into our next section here. We got 3 new departments coming on board.
I'm breaking up a little bit,
Two of
guys.
them by the end of Q3.
Driving to a dead
I need
spot.
everyone to give me detailed evaluations each
Sorry,
month
guys.
so that we know. That's it, guys. Beth, you'll send out a recap email that could have basically taken the place of this whole meeting, correct?
Yep, always do.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Beth. Dave, you been here the whole time?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, thanks everyone once again. Oh, one more.
So the vicious conference calls, and of course we know that everybody's working from home these days. And I think it was said that the number one phrase for 2020 was "you're on mute." So that's the number one phrase. Of course, it's gotten a little bit worse nowadays because it's gotten past the general conference call, which was bad enough. But we're all doing Zoom now, and we're all zoomed in. So here's another little clip about Zoom, about your video calls and the video challenges. Hope this never happens at home.
Ya quedó, ya solamente tenemos que registrar autonomía curricular y el área socioemocional de los niños, porque esa parte no está quedando bien. Perdón.
I'm sure you've seen the clips on TV of the newscasters and so on and so forth trying to manage and do all their work from home. It gets a little bit tough, and that is another another challenge in communications. So we also have email communications channels. I won't play the whole thing.
Hey, Tyler, you going to that all-day meeting tomorrow? I'll be on vacation from Tuesday, June 27th until 2 days ago.
Your auto response is still on.
I'll be on vacation from Tuesday, June 27th until 2 days ago.
Okay, everyone, I need you to send me your reports ASAP before lunch if possible.
Will do, Trip. Will do, Trip. Will do, Trip. Will do, Trip.
Why are you including me in this?
We'll be there around 7 tonight, if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Kind regards, Trip Crosby, Regional Sales Manager. Work 404-555-6112, extension 405. Mobile 404-555-3767. Email trip@biz. Success is always an option. John Maxwell, author.
Here's that report you needed.
I don't see anything.
Oh, dang it, I forgot to attach it. Hey, Beth, did you see all the submissions we got today?
OMG, I know!
Easy on the old caps.
Sorry.
It's okay.
semicolon, close parenthesis.
So we can see that communications in all forms are a little bit of a challenge. And of course, we have some myths that go along with those communication. Just like I said about my kids, you know, if I said it, then they hear you, right? That's not true, right? So if I said it, then they heard me, not so much. And if they heard me, then they understood me. Again, not so much. And if they understood me, they will remember and react accordingly. And again, we all know that these are just myths. The fewer channels, the better? Unfortunately not. In fact, one of the opportunities that we have is to give broad-based communications. How about this one? I know what's best and when to communicate it. Sometimes you don't know. And of course, all communication is verbal, and we already know that that is simply not the case. And here is one that's really a classic. Hey, I'm the leader. I'm communicating. They will follow. It does not work that way. So just some great myths of communication. Again, why do we want to have effective communication? Well, of course, if you do not have it, then you can experience, again, loss of time, loss of revenue, but also you might lose goodwill if you say something or communicate something that is inappropriate or unwelcome. Of course, you could lose your sponsorship, and worst case, we hope this never happens, but also loss of career. There are still more forms of communications challenges. We take a look at these next two in psychological and technological.
I got into one of the best schools in the country! I got into one of the most expensive schools in the country!
So I love this one. It's kind of a little, it's also a little gender-based, but that's okay too. Psychological could be your state of mind or anything else of that nature. In this particular case, he's thinking about his wallet and his pocketbook, right? And so his daughter comes in and says, hey, I got into the best school in the country. And all he can think about is, I got into the most expensive school in the country. I love the gender differences in communications also. I'm sure that somebody has heard this statement before. Well, how much did that cost? Well, it was on sale. That's not what I asked. I asked how much did it cost? So you have those differences. And of course, sometimes we put a little technological barriers in our
My
place.
computer's dying again.
You'll need to email us so we can issue you a ticket.
But you're right here.
It's protocol.
I love this one here. People are inches away from each other. Pre-COVID, no mask, of course. But we're letting all of the technology get in the way. Or maybe something like this.
I just got a text from you that you're breaking up with me.
Don't worry about that. I switched to Sprint's $69.99 plan, so I wasn't charged extra.
Okay, I just got your breakup email.
Emails are unlimited too. And look, I just changed my Facebook status to single, but internet's also unlimited.
Yeah.
So again, we let technology get in the way and create barriers for actually communicating with someone directly. Again, there are others. There's gender communications, language communications, cultural communications, and we won't go into all of these tonight, but there are more communication challenges. Generally, when there is any area of diversity, then there will always have an opportunity for a little bit of a challenge. So those are the things that we look to work through. Again, you might have seen this slide in your PIN box somewhere along the lines there. This is your typical power interest grid. Of course, you kind of know that if a person is in the upper right, meaning that they have a high interest and maybe high power, that could be a sponsor, the person that signed the bill for the project to move forward, then you want to manage that relationship closely and manage the communications closely. Keep them very much informed. Where in the lower left-hand side, where they have low interest and low power, well, all you have to do is kind of manage and monitor that communications that you put out to them. It's not as critical if you don't do it as an aggressive job there. Again, something that you've definitely seen in the PMBOK, and I'm sure that Leslie can attest to this, which is a sample communications matrix. It doesn't have to look like this. It could be more expensive, but this is where you're actually putting down all of the different things, all the different individuals or groups that you would like to communicate with. Obviously, the frequency, the type, the medium, and the style of communication. This is just a sample, and it could go a lot deeper. We always remind folks that in their communications, they want to make sure and identify the stakeholders. And oftentimes we think, okay, well, the stakeholders are my customers, and we kind of stop there. And so our job as project leaders is to understand that those are a lot broader stakeholders out there, like maybe the management team or leadership. If you, depending on what you're doing, like say folks who are delivering the vaccine at this point, they've been very, very careful about their communications, careful about whether they say it's approved, not approved, ready to go, not ready to go. So the public might obviously be a part of that. Obviously, your project team in and of itself, of course, your sponsors or other funders, your supply chain might include partners and vendors and things of that nature. And look, I have management team on there twice because they're very important. So let's take a look at some tips, identifying stakeholders and looking at some tips for doing that. Ask a diverse group to help identify the audience, because sometimes we don't think about all the people that we need to be communicating or all the groups that we need to be communicating with. And then we also need to leverage lessons learned. One of the nice things about project management is we all do our lessons learned after the project. You don't have to answer that. You don't have to put that in the chat box. I don't want anybody incriminating themselves. But if you haven't been doing your lessons learned, by all means, you should. So if there's a group or an area in which you failed to communicate and you capture that, you'll make sure and do that the next time over. I cannot remember exactly. I believe it was on one of the Mars, not Mars. It was I think a moon mission or one far space mission where one team was doing things in meters and the other one was doing things in feet. They weren't communicating very well. And particularly in our global world today, where we have communications and things developed in all parts of the globe, communication becomes that much more important. So if you don't understand that, then the best thing is to ask a diverse group of people to help you with that. You want to make sure and develop a process flow, maybe a process flow diagram, and then also develop some strategies for your communication. And of course, the communications matrix is one of those tools for strategy. We also want to develop a nomenclature for communications. Now, within the project management vertical, as a project management professional or one of the other certifications, we have our own common language, right? We don't have to necessarily explain what a PMO is because we fundamentally all know that. Well, your organization will also have a common language or a common culture in which you will need to adapt to be able to communicate effectively. So you want to plan for that. Then you also want to determine the needs of your audience, and particularly when do they need it, how much do they need, whether it's formal or informal, whether it's the communications going external or internal consumption, or whether you're going to write it down or whether you're going to speak it to them. So you need to plan for all of those various different methods of communication. So some more tips. One size does not fit all. And if you do not know, ask. I always share this story when I talk about communications. You know, we were at a very large national conference and this woman got on the stage. She was well-known for that area. She was well-known public speaker on the radio personality. And she read the name and she started to introduce Kim. And she was saying she and this, that, and the other. And Kim was about 6'6" and probably about 280 pounds of all man. So if you do not know, you need to ask. Additionally, we want to make sure and provide multiple distribution channels. Oftentimes, you know, we get that one message and we send the one message and we expect that everybody will see that. In today's world, you cannot count on that, particularly for those of us, like say myself, or consulting, and you know, one company is using Teams and the other company is using maybe Zoom, and maybe another company is using Slack, and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you're versed in a variety of different channels. for your communication to be effective, you also need it to be open and honest, right? You want to make sure that your communication is authentic. I think that we see through disingenuous communication rather easily, and we generally don't like it. Don't drown the receiver in a whole bunch of information that is not appropriate at the time. You want to make sure that your communication is appropriate for your audience. And then again, manage the audience expectations. You want to make sure and do that. So some more strategies for effective communications, as we already talked about. Ask, actively listen, and also you need to watch. I know we often talk about the listening part a lot, but we also need to watch. Now, and unfortunately, in our work from home video teleconferencing world, it's kind of hard to watch everybody at the same time, but we do want to watch to see that whether our speakers are in fact engaged. Of course, there's always the KISS rule. Keep it simple, nice and concise. That's always good. But you want to plan for more. That if they ask you, hey, can you elaborate on that, that you're ready to do that. That actually is a sign of good engagement if they're asking questions. You want to test your communications in small groups, right, to make sure it has the clarity that you're looking. And I was working for a very large financial services company, and we send out messages. We're sending a note we're planning to send a note to the broker dealers that were working with us, and we were getting a new domain for this new product, and we put a placeholder in the message, in the communication, and it was that they were supposed to go to www.xxx.com. You can figure out where that went. So you want to make sure and test it in a small audience or a small group to make sure that you have everything right before you release it to the wilderness. Because unfortunately, sometimes most times communication is like toothpaste. You just can't get it back in the tube. You want to leverage relevant stories and smile. And even when you're writing, it does actually change the tone of your communication. In fact, President Abraham Lincoln was known for actually writing something and then waiting a day before he sent it. You kind of think of where we are today right now, where we quickly send off a tweet. But that gave him time to think about the tone in which he communicated with his generals. So we kind of live in the 24/7 world. We hit send before, many times even accidentally these days, or maybe you butt dial somebody here recently. So just again, watch what you're saying and be pleasant in everything that you do. And again, we talked a little bit about the nonverbal communications, right? And so there are those people when you just look at them, they look upset. They look angry. They look mad. And all of those things show through. And if anybody's ever been in a relationship with someone, whether it's a relationship with somebody that you are engaged with in some way, shape, or form, or even a parental relationship or a spousal relationship, you can tell when they're not happy with you. And they really don't have to say much. In fact, the situation of not communicating verbally sends just as strong a message as when you actually are communicating verbally. So with that, we got to give you a couple more little tips for strategies for effective communication, right? You want to make sure and meet the need of your audience. Solicit feedback often. You can do this through practicing, making sure that you have a full understanding of all the different things that you need to get done or how's it being received. You want to make sure that you are attentive and adaptive to issues. Many times, particularly for public speaking, you might have a question that takes you in a totally different direction. You should be prepared on how to handle that one. You want to start getting frequent feedback, particularly on a project. As you guys know from a project management perspective, you're doing a project and maybe you're getting regular feedback, say a weekly meeting, or maybe you have a daily huddle or a scrum or in some agile world, right? And then as things seem to be stabilizing or going through the the forming, storming, norming, and performing phases of projects or project teams, and things are starting to feel really good. Maybe you don't have to do a meeting every day or every week. Maybe you can do it every 2 weeks. Of course, we have to be ready to adjust again. Say, for example, the project starts to slip because we're all managing our projects, looking at all of our CPIs and so on and so forth. And we might have to call everybody back and say, hey, look, we're not keeping our pace, we're slipping. Right? So we want to make sure and take a look at that and be able to adjust to that too. And then use repetition. And this is a tricky one because there's a fine line between repetition and nagging. So you don't want to nag somebody, but you do need to use repetition. And the best way to use repetition, or one of the best ways to use repetition, is instead of saying it over and over again, is to say it, but say it in different, along different mediums or different channels. So they see the same message, but they see it in different places, and it kind of sticks with them. And again, we want to remind you to remove any of those technological barriers for just some good communication. All right, list an expert if you need to have somebody help you with that communication. And we know plenty of people who have done that. Maybe they've said, a public figure has said something wrong or did something, and they actually enlist somebody to help them rebuild their image. That is in fact the case with the communications experts. That's what they're there for. Communication is important. It's effective if it is timely and accurate. We want to make sure that if you tell somebody after the house is burned down that the house is on fire, well, that is a duh. I already know that. So you need to make sure you have timely and accurate communication. We love to leverage a little humor, but try not to overuse it. And again, remove the jargons, the codes, the cliches for clear communication. So with that, I congratulate you. You are officially all squared away, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody doing great, clear communication. And here's my contact information. If you want to reach out to me, you're welcome to do so. And Dan, did you have that winner? And I'm going to ask Dan, are you on mute?
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Bing. This is Dan. Sorry, I was on mute. Oh, gosh. Yes, indeed. Okay. 1 second as I do my thing here.
And while you're doing that, I'll just say again, any questions, any thoughts or any ahas out of the presentation? I know we think communication is a pretty simple thing. We all do it. Everybody communicates. But everybody does not communicate effectively.
Hi, Clifford. This is Karen Teeter. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Going back to the repetition piece,
Yeah.
I have frequently heard that you say, 3 times in order for people to really grasp it. And I'm just curious, particularly now that so many of us are remote and we're having to use, creative ways to work with our clients or even our peers. Has that pivoted at all?
So the messaging really has not pivoted. You're probably still going to do 3 times. Now, again, like I said, you might want to change the channel in which you send a message, right? So you may not say the same things 3 times in a presentation or during a period of time. You might say it 1 time. You might show it up. It might show up again in print format. You might say it or leave it on voice messaging or something of that nature. So basically, you can definitely do the 3 times for sure. It's still fundamentally the same.
Okay.
Just different channels. I also like, again, when you do a lot of public speaking, if you've ever been in a room and had somebody walk to the stage and take a mic and start to say things, oftentimes you don't even hear. You can't even make out the fact that somebody is talking to you. So oftentimes we say it 3 times because the first time they're just recognizing, that
your second piece of gum.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you picked them up a minute ago. I was like, man, that's strong.
So that's a little communications there.
I decide if I want to go to dance or not.
So anyway, the point of the matter is that the second time they are finally tuned into your communications, but they really haven't heard it yet, and then the third time they usually pick it up. So that makes sense.
Okay.
Other questions?
Great.
That was a great question. All right, Dan, I throw it back to you. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. Having the opportunity to come in and talk to the Calumet chapter.
Wonderful. Thank you, Clifford. If you go ahead and give me the share, that'd be great.
Sure can.
There we go. Okay, and now for Clifford's treasured book, let's find out who our winners are tonight.
Gotta like the music.
Ah, there you go.
Lisa, his son. Congratulations. You had just won Clifford's book.
All right, now I didn't write the book, but this is a book, and it is signed. It is signed by the author, right? So it's an autographed copy. And I tell you what, if you guys will just then get to me Lisa's contact information, and we'll get that in. I'm going to be generous. We have one more, so Dan, can you do that again, or do we? Can you do one more? That one I sprung on you. Very
Michael.
good, Michael. Congratulations. I will get the books to Dan, and Dan will get them to you. So
Wonderful.
very
Thank
much.
you.
As I say, thank you for playing.
Clifford, I like all the books behind you. I was curious, is there anything in particular that you're reading personally or professionally, things that you're interested in?
Yes. So right now I'm doing my PhD work in global leadership. So I have a whole slew of leadership books. Now, I didn't start the leadership books for this program. I've been studying leadership for a long time, even before then. So I have a whole slew of leadership books, but I also have, and I'll back up here a little bit. Here are my project management books right here, always at the ready. So we have, I'll just pull a couple of fun ones out here. I mean, you guys will recognize this one, I'm sure. Whoop, got to turn it the other way. All right, so that one's a nice hefty one. Of course, if you've been around for a while, you might have gotten this.
Oh.
Yep.
I didn't get the book.
You didn't get the book? Oh my gosh, we gotta figure that one out. Oh, okay, here's another one. Again.
Tools and tips.
So, I mean, I could keep going on. If you, I also have my Six Sigma stuff here too. So that's just a little bit of a sampling. But for me right now, at this point, I'm doing a lot of work on communications, diversity, equity, and inclusion issues at this point in time. So I know a lot of times we kind of think of diversity as being purely ethnicity, but there is so much more to diversity, including the way we think, gender issues, just all sorts of ways to look at diversity. So those are the fun things that I'm reading right now.
That's awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. Clifford, thank you very much. Before we get started, though, Kelly, I think we have an announcement before we go to our raffles.
Yeah, so I know Joe touched on it briefly at the very beginning of the agenda. We are having we made a partnership with the Food Bank of Northwest Indiana, and we've donated a check, but they also have volunteer opportunities for individuals or groups or even families to come and volunteer there at the food bank. So there's an event this Friday, the December 18th. Yep, the 18th, from I think it's 3 to 6, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a link. Dan posted a PDF in the chat, and there's a link within that PDF, so you can check the schedule and see what days work for you. there's at least a couple of us going this Friday. So we'd love to have you join us Friday if you're available. And if you are not available Friday, but see another date that interests you on the calendar, you can RSVP through that link to register with the food bank. And also reach out to a couple of us. It's more fun to get there together and spend some time together, giving back. And whether you're by yourself or with a group, you can earn PDUs for volunteering. So it's a good way to give back in the community and earn some PDUs too.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. And you're correct. Definitely a PDU. I think the PDU code was in that attachment that's in the chat. So that's good for an hour or two. I think it's a maximum of 2 hours, I think. I could be wrong, but feel free to reach out. Okay, next up, it's that raffle time. So we have decided that we are going to offer 3 items. And this, we just don't have them handy, but we're going to expect that they arrive at the end of January and or early February. They are PMI Calumet logoed polo shirts for either men or women. And all I'm going to need as our winner is to provide the size and a reply email to me, and we'll make sure that you get that here as soon as it's in, and we'll get that out to you. So our first roll woohoo!
Karen.
Way to go, Ken. Got yourself a new shirt.
Thank you, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, our second shirt up for offer. Woohoo!
Hey, how about that?
There you go.
Christmas early.
Yeah, I'll reach out and make sure that we got the shirts there. One sec.
I just looked up the website too about the food bank Northwest Indiana. It's got a thing on there that comes up for volunteer. It's in green, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get back since I've received a little bit.
The sign up thing, is that what you're talking about? The in green?
Yeah, for the volunteer.
Yeah. I like that schedule and the way you can sign up too. And one cool thing, I have young kids. Kids can volunteer. Sometimes older kids are looking for volunteer hours for one thing or another for school. You only have to be 8 years old. So it's a good thing for kids to get involved in if they're looking for credit or just, as a family activity too.
Okay.
All right. And now our last item up for the raffle is going to Una.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. I am so glad.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, folks, that wraps up most of our business meeting. And we thank Clifford Clarke for the awesome presentation on effective communication for the project manager. I hope you enjoyed our giveaways and all this other stuff. And this is this little sneak peek at what's to come next year as we continue on, starting off probably initially virtually, but hopefully by Q2, we'll have to see everybody actually face to face. Maybe even a little spaced out or whatever, but hey, we'll accommodate it. So the new board will be meeting, their board of directors meeting probably early in January, where we're going to set the strategic plan and hold a date open, just roughly hold a date open for January, roughly the 19th or 20th. And that placeholder might be our first Q1 meeting for 2021. speaker and topic TBD, but that will be up to the board and as we transition the new board in and what our next meeting date will be. So if there's not any other questions, or feel free to stick on here, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to remain on here. If anyone wants to stick on and chat or ask extended Q&A session to Clifford, let's hold it open. So Clifford, back to you, man, for Clifford's Q&A.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Welcome. Congratulations to the new board. Thanks to all the membership for joining and supporting the board. Really appreciate it. Have a good, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays, everyone.
Yes, happy holiday.
Oh, I love the fact that Yuma, that's a great communication strategy because I love the way you put that in there. Very good. That helps everybody.
Yeah,
I would need a lot of help with your name. I'm just saying that right off the bat. I'm sure I'd get there, but I need help.
It's normal. That's why I do it.
All right, everyone. Well, if there's no other questions or anything else like that, I'm just going to let you guys go. Just again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah. In any other way or manage any other way that you celebrate the season or celebrate the end of the year or celebrate a new year, especially a year that's not 2020. We just ask that you do that safely, and hopefully we'll see each other face to face sometime in the near future. Everybody have a great night.
That's good. Thank you.
You too.
You too. Thank you, Clifford.
Thank you.
Thank you.